The name of Professor Gary Langhausen. He says, I opened it and saw the name of the book, The Peak of Eloquence, in English. Nahjul Balagha. Its name is The Peak of Eloquence. He is a professor at what I believe is Yale University in Connecticut, one of the most important universities. The name of Professor Gary Langhausen. This is when he interviewed him, saying that once I was an atheist. One day, I had a Shia Muslim student who came to me and presented me with a gift. I asked him, "What is this?" He said, "This is a book that expresses our culture and our heritage." He says, I opened it and saw the name of the book, The Peak of Eloquence in English, Nahjul Balagha. Its name is The Peak of Eloquence. He says, I opened the book for the first time, even though I am a university professor. He says, I was amazed by the first sermon of the Commander of the Faithful, peace be upon him, the beginning of creation after praise. You did well in monotheism. All praise is due to God, who cannot be reached by those who seek to measure him. Those who claim it cannot reach him, nor can the wrongdoers approach him. The wrongdoers, you did well. He says, I read this sermon. I couldn't put the book down. He says, so I continued reading. Awesome. I read. He has two nice expressions. One says that my mind was blown, as if my brain exploded. The other says that I felt that Ali bin Abi Talib, the owner of these words, is a multifaceted personality. Once he talks about monotheism and how he says I am an atheist at the time. He says, I just discovered this from his expressions. He says, I discovered that my perception of God, which I had rejected, was a childish perception. He says, I discovered that this is not the God I had imagined. This is the God that Ibn Abi Talib is describing. Sometimes he speaks about monotheism. Sometimes he speaks about politics, if the expression is correct. Sometimes he speaks about justice. Sometimes he speaks about government administration. He says that he is a multidimensional and multifaceted personality. He entered Islam through the door of Ali, peace be upon him, and became a Muslim. His conversion to Islam was good, and he respected the religious seminary and began to study. This is true. When I saw him, I remembered a well-known poem in which the poet says, You have gathered opposites in your qualities. So for this reason, the opposites come together in Ali. Langhausen changed his name to Muhammad, so he became Muhammad Langhausen. God is the greatest. He says, this is a multifaceted personality. What is this? Who are we dealing with?